So gonna start in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so I guess I do some kind of introduction. Most importantly, the game we are watching is Four Swords Adventures, and that's often confused with Four Swords. It's a different game. Anyways, we are going to watch the intro, which is like almost 5 minutes long, so we have some time to talk. CFG already explained some basics, so I don't know, like if chat has more questions, we can answer them. But yeah, and I mean, we've been here already, but I'm Yadra and I have my friends here for commentary. We are all FSA runners. We have Seamaster, Weeby, and Toad.
Hi.
I'm confused by chat.
Yeah, so just for clarification, this is just any percent. This game only has really one category. There are like heart containers and rings and stuff, but it never gets tracked in the game and it's never permanent, so really any percent is 100% unless you make some like weird kind of category, which we've done before.
I mean, we tried, yeah, but for the most part, you just finish the stages and that's all you can do.
Don't forget about co-op.
Well, I guess.
Oh yeah, so one thing about this will probably get lost in the middle of the run, but we are playing on the Japanese version. It's mostly because of this text right here, because we can't obviously scroll through it or whatever, and it's going really slowly, so because there's just less characters in Japanese, this is faster. The intro is about like 30 or so seconds faster, but there are some gameplay differences between the other versions and Japanese versions.
Yeah, for the most part, we play in Japanese because the voice of the links is better on the Japanese version.
Oh yeah, they're super squeaky on the English and PAL versions. It's kind of obnoxious.
So about the TAS, this is single player, and now you might be wondering, this is a multiplayer game. Why didn't you use more players? The problem is Dolphin simply doesn't support a TAS environment with multiple players. It's as simple as that. So the only thing we can do right now is single player. That aside, a 3 or 4 player run would be really awful. And the interesting thing about this TAS is that you can control all links almost individually, so it looks like it's multiplayer.
One kind of little detail here is, well, first when we talk to Zelda, you can actually choose which direction Link faces, so you saw that Link faced away from Zelda when she was talking to him. And also, when you walk into this portal after this cutscene, you can also choose what direction you face. I don't remember what you did, but...
I didn't know about the portal thing, only about the beginning, so it's basic facing upwards.
Oh, okay.
I'm terribly sorry.
Text in this game is pretty simple. There's no real tech to text matching. You just mash A as fast as possible. So in a TAS, obviously, goes very, very fast because you can do it every other frame.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right. Just in case you haven't seen this game before, you do indeed control 4 links in this game. There are different formations which lets you control all of them at once. For example, the box formation. You will see them a little bit later. But generally, when you're not in a formation, you only control the green link. But you can also switch to other links while the other ones just sit down somewhere on the screen. It'll be a little bit difficult to tell at times because everything will going to happen really fast. But we'll explain a little bit more about the formations once we get into the first level, because the formations and the formation menu are really important parts of this game.
Yeah, I mean, it might be good to kind of start explaining it now because it's going to happen in like a minute.
Probably.
But so one of the major glitches with formations is formation menu clipping. And that's going to be the major glitch that allows very big skips, and ones that are only that are TAS only as well, because they take like 30 hertz smashing or whatever. So after this, it's going to get pretty insane.
Yeah, so the first glitch we see is FMC, as already explained. So you simply use the formation menu, you open and close it, and you have to do it in a certain way, and then you can clip into this block, and then you can do.
Normally on this next part, you need to get the fire rod to get past this rock, but again, you can just clip through stuff, which is pretty cool.
That one also uses stun down enemy clip, I believe, in order to get through the wall, which is something you see a few times in this one, I believe.
So on the bridge, we used out of bounds, which is basically pressing X the frame that you enter a GBA screen, and you can use that to clip through stuff. That's something that we use in RTA quite a bit, but you can take more advantage of it, combining that with formation menu clipping to do some really crazy stuff.
Alright, so as CFG mentioned before, this game is level-based, and to beat each level you need to collect 2,000 force gems. In the one of the previous screens, we also got a gem fountain, which usually you do not get in RTA, but in the TAS, because everything happens so fast and you need a lot of gems, the gem fountain is actually pretty nice to have there. It also looks really cool.
Am I back?
You're back.
Yes.
God bless. I don't know what happened, but...
Yeah, so right here we're gonna skip half the level by just, doing that.
If you look into the level editors, this actually makes a little bit more sense. On the first screen, there is actually another screen above it, and so if you can't touch the upper part of the screen, you can screen transition onto that screen. Usually, of course, that's not possible, but with the help of formation menu clipping, you can get to that screen a lot earlier.
I like it a lot. You open and close the formation menu to manipulate RNG to get a bunch of red gems from the fountain there, which is necessary for the TAS gem route since you skip so many at the beginning part.
These gem rains here are also based on RNG. Most of the time they're not a big problem, but sometimes we need a big amount of gems from them, and thanks to the formation menu and sometimes just to regular movement, manipulate the rain to give us more gems. Also good pause here.
Nobody saw that.
That's because Dolphin is great, and freeze frames sometimes are a little bit annoying. So the pause just is kind of necessary to actually beat the level there.
If you play this game on emulator, you'll find it hard to hold buttons sometimes, and it'll just drop your input. So that's... Whenever you need to hold a button, sometimes Yadra needed to pause in order to make it so it links it and let go. Going back to the gem rains, so as I said, they're pretty much all random. The only thing that's guaranteed is the big green gem, which is worth 100. But even sometimes that can fall into a hole, because the gem rains don't cover the floor; they actually go like out a little bit. So sometimes you can just not get that 100 completely, and it's really obnoxious. And here we have some more formation menu clip stuff to get past this whole section.
That movement at the beginning was actually to skip an owl trigger. Usually there's a cutscene with the owl that talks to you for a little bit, but with interesting movement, you can skip that cutscene.
That part's interesting. There's something, when you pull that lever, there's a few freeze frames. And in this game, you can use freeze frames to do something called a freeze clip, where you clip into a wall slightly. And Yadra used that to initiate the FMC there.
A lot of the time in boss stages like these, it's not very important to collect the 2,000 gems before the boss, because the bosses always drop about like 750 gems or more. I think it's 750. In this stage, however, we're going to skip the boss. First of all, we're going to do a super jump here. They're still on the GBA screen, the links, and if you hold out the sword when you jump down and then leave with green, they will for some reason jump to the upper left part of the screen, and which is actually the boss screen, but on the left of the boss screen there's the last screen here, which you're usually only supposed to enter after you beat the boss. But since we can just go there and then just FMC out of there, we can skip the whole boss.
So just for comparison, normally in RTA at this point, you can get here in like 15 minutes. So it's already like 4 minutes or so ahead of what people can normally do.
Yeah, FMC is formation menu clipping.
Oh yeah, one thing we didn't mention before. During each stage transition, the game asks you whether you want to save. And if you do some weird shenanigans with pressing the right button for several frames, the cursor already is set to no instead of yes. So it saves like a little bit of time during every stage. Can't really do that in RTA, so it's kind of TAS only.
So for this stage, there's, as usual, a lot of FMCs going on. There are also two different routes you can technically take. One is the slingshot route and the other one's the bomb route. They don't differ too much. It's mostly just the Zora fight that's up ahead on the screen. The TAS obviously can get one cycle with the slingshot pretty easily. With bombs, this would be a lot more difficult to do. But the slingshot also allows us to do like clip on the next screen, which I hope you can explain because it's...
I can do that. So the like clip is special. We have a link getting eaten and then we stun the like. While we are still in formation, so we have the links moving in formation, but one link is being eaten inside the stunned enemy, which means FSA laws go crazy, and you can push against the wall, which makes the eaten link be moved into the opposite direction without collision. Makes sense. I hope everybody understood that.
So in case you're curious about the gems, the big green gems give you 100 gems each. And sometimes you will notice that the links are holding something when they pick up the gems. That's because if you don't hold something and you pick up one of those big gems, there will be a little cutscene of them holding the gem up, and there will also be a text box if you pick them up with green. But if you're holding something, that cutscene is skipped, and the text box is also skipped.
For these Manhandla fights, which we just call lobsters, they drop 5 gems, and they're either green or blue. Blue is worth 150, and green is worth 100. So a lot of the times she needs to manipulate the right amount of gems depending on how many she needs for those fights. And there's only I think there's 4 or 3 total, so that'll come up in the future as well.
This level is one of my favorites because the way you get gems in this level is through the mini game in it, and normally the mini game is something that's given runners a lot of pain over the years, but this task kind of has a very smart and creative way of dealing with the mini game.
And very swag.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, sometime later in the task, there was a new glitch found for duping gems and stuff. Although we're not sure if that would be faster in this case because you'd have to take a different route, but maybe, I don't know.
So the actual purpose of this level is to do a really big side quest, which a lot of people don't like when they play this game casually. But we literally skip every single part of the side quest, even the Shadow Link fight at the very end here, by going into that house and doing another FMC up to that wall there to be able to walk out on it.
There was also a Shadow Link fight there in the screen previous that we skipped, which is pretty cool.
So this level was basically just get 2k gems and then finish the level, not do anything else. But on the next screen, we will see here that there's a weird FMC, seemingly for no reason. That's actually because there is a little cutscene trigger there. It just shows that there are bowling balls coming out from the top of the screen. But with an FMC, you can also skip that cutscene. And this is the best room in the game. I guess this is also a good time to talk about combo gems. You can see the little numbers popping up each time they slash a tile. You get more gems the higher the number is. I'm not exactly sure how many you get exactly, but after some time you get first like 20, then 50. On PAL you can actually get 1k gems, I'm pretty sure. But on JP and US you can only get fairies after the highest amount of gems.
Yeah, the amount of gems you get actually differs per version. The best version is the PAL version because they actually made it make sense. You can get like 1,000 gems if you get 100 or something like that. The Japanese version, once you get past a certain point, I think you mentioned it, you only get like fairies or something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fairies are the skin's extra lives, pretty much. You didn't.
The combo gems can be pretty useful, especially right here. You want to have the level 2 sword before you actually have to hit the boss with the sword, because it allows you to get the free 1 cycle. It's also possible in RTA, but it's a little bit difficult.
Sorry, I didn't know if you mentioned it, but did you say you needed level 2 sword for that? Or
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Oh, and also to explain what happened like earlier, this dungeon, you normally need the bow. You get the bow from the left-hand side of the dungeon and the lamp from the right-hand side of the dungeon, and that allows you to enter that screen where all the floating tiles were. But using FMCs, we can just skip all of that. And I mean, you basically take out all the level, which you'll see is a running theme in this whole game, really. So I think this level has the first formation hover of the run. Oh no, actually, no, never mind. Still do FMCs.
You do an FMC, yeah.
That'll come up at some point.
FMCs are too strong in the TAS. Usually FMCs aren't used as much in RTA, because a lot of the time you need to get out of bounds first. I don't know if we explain it, but the way you get out of bounds is you enter a GBA screen, and then on the first frame that you can control Link, you have to press X, so the other links will spawn on the previous screen, not on the previous screen, on the non-GBA screen out of bounds. And then once you leave again, you can switch them and you're inside the wall and you can just FMC upwards.
So normally in this level you need to get the hammer to pass by those stairs right there, but by clipping with the squirrels and doing that little detour, we can just completely skip the hammer in this level. There's also a cool little jump coming up here, using out of bounds. That really just comes from the fact that you're not usually supposed to be up there, so the jump... well, I guess the cliffs are not really programmed correctly. A lot of this screen is waiting, so yeah, just playing around there. Disco gems.
Disco gem. So there's 4 gems under that rock, and when you pick them up all at the same time while you're holding something, they rotate over your head like a disco. And there is a way to do that RTA, but it's kind of tricky, so that's something you see super often.
In the next level, there's going to be a bunch of fire, and also we're going to skip another owl in the beginning here. And just like a lot of things in this game, we can clip through the fire as well. We're also going to get the Rock's Feather, because that'll be helpful in some later screens.
You can generally FMC through most actors. And of course, if you're inside a wall, then that also works.
Yeah, the game, like, kind of crushes you when you're inside a solid object that isn't an actor. Or I guess maybe if it is an actor too. If you're touching it for more than 1 frame. So you have to close and open the menu, like, frame perfectly tight so that you don't get crushed back to where you entered the screen.
There's a little bit more nonsense going on here. You have to wait for these things to explode first. And it takes a little bit, so we just get the level 2 feather. There is no real use for the level 2 feather here, it just looks cool. But there is a cool little trick that you can do with the text box from the gem. Usually the explosion here would kill you, but because of the text box, or rather, while the text box is up, the explosion still happens. And so when the explosion happens, when the text box is up, you don't get hit. So that way you can position yourself right besides the screen transition trigger and just have up the text and not die to it.
Yeah, the Great Fair is actually normally never seen in the run. Even in RTA, it hasn't been in the run for, like, years. But it's nice that you get to see it in some context, at least. Upcoming is another owl skip. This one's pretty simple. You just kind of roll past the trigger on the corner. Normally for this, you need the hammer to knock off Helmarok's mask, but bombs actually hurt it too. And bombs also do a ton of damage too. So you'll see her use that to basically one-shot Helmarok.
Get bombarded with bombs, Jesus. You can also one-cycle this boss. Although it's also a little bit difficult in RTA.
No, it's free.
It's free. On the next screen here, there's actually a cool little glitch you can do with the hammer. There's no use to it, but the tiles here spawn a little bit out of place for some reason, if you charge the hammer and then release it right when they spawn. It just looks a little bit funky, but they still work.
Okay, am I back?
Yes,
You're back. Hello.
you are back.
I hope for a little bit longer this time.
You're back in just in time for the dongos.
This took about 3 years to finish.
Is it 3 years counting from the very first?
No.
Okay, just the new one.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about that, or I don't know. Just doing stuff here to skip stuff. But yeah, technically, well, I started this TAS in January 2015, and eventually we had problems with desync and everything, and I restarted in January 2015, and now, oh no, in December actually. So it's 3 years.
On this screen we can see that we just kind of roll through the fire. This game doesn't have invincibility frames when you roll, unlike like Ocarina of Time or Minish Cap. But when you get hit and roll on the same frame, then you skip the knockback animation. You still take the damage though, so you do have to be careful.
One kind of weird fact about this fight is you can skip this fight, so you can roll through the fire and go up the stairs at the top, because the fire is the only thing that's actually blocking your way. But whenever there's a fight like this, the game locks transitions, and you can't do them unless you have a special way of unlocking it. So if you were to go into the next screen, you couldn't actually enter the following screen because the screen lock would still be flagged. But otherwise, we would be able to skip it.
You also see the dongos.
You also see some formations here. That's just manipulating the RNG so that the dongos open when we want them to.
Yeah, but the dongos have multiple timers, and depending on what you do, they jump between values like 30 to 120, and they do that multiple times, so I do a lot of silly things to get low numbers.
Oh yeah, I guess just to clarify, so the RNG only depends on the position of the 4 links, right? Pretty much.
Well, position and actions you do, and
I see,
which
I see.
link is active too. It's a lot of things actually. Like just switching to another link can change RNG.
Yeah, but like from my experience, you can't just like press some random button and it'll do something, right?
I mean, not really.
I always took that the Z button would change RNG, so you could like change RNG without
Yeah, that
trying
would
to
be
go
cool,
stuff.
but it's useless.
Alright, time for World 4. This level will introduce horses. For the better or worse, I'm not sure. But first we actually have to... What's the word? Bring... What's her name again? Jesus, I don't remember.
Rallin.
Thank you. Back here. That little bit of movement there is just to make the links walk to their spot a little bit faster. Moment.
So this also differs from what you'd see in RTA. Normally in RTA you'd carry the orb that carries the horse all the way through this section. But in a TAS you just use it because there's a way to use formation menu clipping to do a skip that we'd normally need for the horses. So the basic gimmick of this level is you need to kill these gomas to get the bow, but you can completely skip all of, or to get the shovel, sorry. But you can skip all of that in RTA with that FMC.
And here you can see the gem dupe we talked about earlier. By picking up the gem and then leaving the screen at the same time, you pick up the gem, but it will still be there when you go back to the screen. It's very precise to do. We also do it in RTA now, though. But for the 1k gem there, specifically, it's obviously very convenient that you can just get 2 and then already have the 2k gems. It's particularly convenient in this level because you usually wouldn't really get any other gems here. You would have to kind of get out of your way to get another 1,000. So it's kind of nice that there are just 1,000 lying around there for you to get so easily and then to dupe it very easily as well.
So this is the first of the jewel fights. There's 4 of them throughout the game. It is technically possible, or theoretically, I guess I should say, to skip them in single player, but this one in particular just has like one little thing that I can't really get by. But otherwise, all the pieces are there to skip it. We will skip one later, though.
Interestingly, co-op can actually skip this jewel fight.
Alright, so for this next level, everyone needs to type the swamp in all caps with spaces in between.
Oh, nice, Yadra. We ended up right next to each other on our screen.
That little bit of movement there at the beginning is once again to skip another owl cutscene. And as usual, we go into a GBA screen, get out of bounds to get onto a wall, and then do some funky movements to get here more quickly.
Oh yeah, I forgot. This level has some really crazy stuff with jumping. If you... I honestly don't know the details, but you can, like, infinitely jump on the swamp stuff with the Rock's Feather. It's... Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
It's so
understand.
weird.
Yeah. It's sort of done in RTA, but definitely not to this extent. Yeah. Jump all over the swamp. It's really weird.
Say hello to Dampe.
First try Dante.
PogChamp.
So this fight might...
Alright, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, this fight might look kind of slow, the way that, like, it's taking her so long to hit him, but besides the very last hit, there's actually, like, a timer before you can even hit the mask, so you can just walk over and whatever.
You also have to wait
This
for
is
that guy to
awesome.
leave the screen before you can transition up. That's why that movement looked kinda not as fast. And why she took the time to hit single there. So in RTA, 4.3 is known for being one of the only glitchless levels, but that is definitely not true in the TAS.
I actually kind of forgot what this level looked like.
Yeah.
I think it is still glitchless. So generally, it's a little bit difficult here to find all the gems you need, which is why we actually have to go into the water and get the gems there as well. There's just not that many gems in this level in general, so you have to get the fastest one that the game gives you. In these pots, you can oftentimes get 20 gems from them, but even they don't help all that much.
Yeah, it's not usual that pots drop random gems. There's just a few levels like this one where there's a lot of pots everywhere that drop. The random gems are either like 25 or 1. But in a TAS you can manipulate that pretty hard. Yeah, so on that screen there's a bunch of invisible platforms. If you shoot the buttons, you'll see, it just lights up, but the platforms are there regardless of if the light's on or not. I think there's actually an FMC up here, if I remember correctly.
You can do the FMC, and you will also be able to go to the screen above this one, but you won't be able to escape it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's what I was thinking of. I was thinking of the old, like, theory route.
Yeah, unfortunately it's not really possible.
Unfortunately, this boss really doesn't have HP. You just have to hit them a certain amount of times. So there's probably just gonna be a lot of playing around here and stuff like that.
This boss sucks.
And blows.
Forgot about that. It's been too long. This is actually one of the other things you can skip in co-op, but not in single player. Co-op has some other interesting glitches that that single player doesn't have access to.
Yeah, when he mentions co-op, he's specifically talking about 2-player. Any more than 2 players, it's kind of whack right now anyway. In 2 players, you can take advantage of the boomerang and a few other things that make a lot of the levels super broken. I mean, honestly, if you showed the task or this task to somebody and said it was 4 players, they'd probably believe you because that's what it looks like the whole time, pretty much.
It's ridiculous what TAS can do with this game. And as you can imagine, a lot of these levels are ridiculously difficult to route, not just in terms of glitches and what you can do in them, but also in terms of gems. The next level is also a good example of that. 5.1 has generally very few gems. You can technically get to the very end of the level very quickly, with basically skipping everything, but obviously we need 2k gems, so we do have to get some things.
You know, what's even worse about those levels, there's really only one source of random gems, which, I mean, is good for RTA, but kind of bad for a task because they can't really manipulate it too much. And there's even this glitch where when you hit, like, so some rocks, when you hit them, you'll see later, they drop gems. If you leave the screen before the rock has left all of its gems, then you can do it again over and over. But for some reason in this level and a few others it doesn't work. It seems kind of random.
So we even have to, or she even had to open some of the chests here to get more gems. That's how tight the gems here are.
Yeah, so this is the one source of random gems that the TAS can get all the 20s and stuff with. If you play the game, you'll see that that doesn't happen ever.
Yeah,
But
not even close.
yeah, and you'll see that when she burns stuff, the stumps consistently drop 5 gems and the bushes drop 1. So that's the other source of gems you get here.
So the bush here is actually going to drop another 1 gem here, and the bat is going to give us the other 20 we need. So it works out barely. There are still some gems on the next screen, but they're super slow to get, and you would miss a cycle, so... regarding movement, there's actually something I wanted to mention. Sometimes you notice that she also put her name into the ground there in Japanese letters. But yeah, in terms of movement, as you know, there are some formations. For example, the right formation makes so that links are, or the purple link is on the very right side. And sometimes she will use that to go into the right formation, then switch to purple very quickly to get to the right side very quickly. I can do that with other formations as well. Technically, the left formation is the worst one because it doesn't really... It's just like shaped like a diamond, and it doesn't really do anything. But yeah, for right and down movement, that's a really interesting movement method, and saves quite a lot of time.
Although for the diamond formation in a TAS, you'll see this probably in the next world more so, because I think that's when she started using it a lot. But so in the diamond formation, we do a spin attack. All 4 links spin around in a circle, and she actually uses that to propel the links a certain like distance to go faster. And it's really cool to watch. If you try to look for that in the later levels, it's really awesome.
Also, super TAS only.
Oh yeah, definitely. Left formation is like borderline useless in RTA, and it's really only used in the TAS just for movement speed, and that's really it. Another thing I wanted to mention is there are other weird formation mechanics with the different links. So green acts differently than the other links whenever you use a formation, which is like the C-stick. And so if you're a different link that's not green and you use a formation, you have to wait for green to get to your original location so that you can continue. So a lot of the times when she's trying to move across these screens, she'll put green next to a wall or something so that whenever she calls the formation as like purple or something, green will instantly come back to where she was and she can continue moving. That's just a small kind of optimization that you'll see throughout the rest of the levels. This next level coming up is really insane. It has so many skips compared to RTA, and I mean I think almost everything is skipped. I don't even remember like what items you get. Maybe the hammer, and that's it. I don't even know if you get the hammer.
That room looks so cool. It's too fast.
Normally in RTA you have to go back on the GBA screen and hit the switch for later. And it's mostly so you can go through that keyhole that's on the right-hand side of the screen. But we can just FMC past it like she just did. And we can reuse the key somewhere else.
Here you're waiting for the bomb to respawn to get out of bounds with it. That's what the waiting around was for.
And normally you have to go on the lower part of that screen to hit or pull some switches to open that door. But yeah, using turtles and FMCs and stuff. And we're doing the same thing with, so this is enemy clipping as well, because we stun the enemies with the hammer and just use that to roll through the walls.
That screen is so ridiculous. I still can't believe that even works.
Yeah, so normally in RTA you use a key that was just in that previous room to skip some stuff, but here we're actually using a key that was in like the very first room. And also we can just roll over pits because this game is crazy.
You can skip using lamp in this room with an FMC using the switches in that room that open and close the gates. It's really cool. Technically, you can do that in RTA, but it's not really faster for real time.
Unfortunately, we can't skip this Puppet Ganon, but, or Puppet Ganon, Phantom Ganon, but he's a lot faster than the one in 1-3 anyway, so it's not too bad. There's also a cutscene here talking about some, I actually don't remember. But as long as you don't walk into the trigger, doing some fancy stuff like that, you can skip it. Time for World Dicks.
Oh, yeah.
Usually you're supposed to talk to 2 NPCs first, which then opens the gate. But obviously, she just FMCs through most of the things.
Obviously.
Yeah. The main mechanic of this game.
You can also FMC around here. There's nothing really preventing that, but because of how the next screens are arranged, you can't really progress too much. Although, wait. Actually, I kind of forgot what happens here.
It's still an FMC, but...
Oh yeah, it's on the right-hand side. That's why she has to go over there. Yeah, you can see how awkward the terrain is here, because if you get caught in one of those floor areas, you can't really get out. So you have to be really careful. Yeah, some really weird mechanics that just happened there. I don't know the full details of it, but if you do an action as those floors are about to collapse, you can avoid not falling or something. I also saw a little spin attack and diamond formation there. It's pretty cool.
another stunned enemy clip there with the boots this time to get
skip is
out of
ridiculous.
bounds to initiate an FMC to skip a few rooms.
Yeah, that actually skipped like a ton of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Also here, you saw that little formation there. Those guys can drop either 100 or 150, just like a lot of enemies in this game. And so she needed a 150 there in order to get all of her gems. But that'll be the last one of those fights, so we won't have to see that again. The fourth one we're going to skip when it comes up later on. I don't know about you guys, I'm having trouble remembering what's up next because she did the last couple worlds so fast, they all kind of blended together.
Yeah.
I watched them beforehand, so...
But at least you can expect some FMCs if anything else.
So the start of this is quite interesting. Just like in 1-2, she FMCs to the top right corner this time, not the top left corner, to enter the screen differently. It just skips like 2 rooms. It's not the biggest skip in the world, but obviously it's quite a bit faster.
And of course the classic Ninja Turtle clip.
Hardest trick in the game. That Ninja Turtle clip is just another enemy clipping. But this time it's not to FMC, but just to clip through to a block and to push a switch under a pot earlier than you're supposed to. Usually you would need a key to do that, but this way we can keep the key and use it somewhere else. Also, this room is bad.
This room is super complicated, and even if you play it at like 0.1% speed, you won't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Here we encounter Goma again. You can just throw your friends at them and kill them very easily in 2 hits. Because friends are very strong weapons in this game.
Oh yeah, so I talked earlier about when enemies drop green gems, usually they can drop blues as well. So same goes for these Shadow Links, but the Shadow Links that are just in the middle of the dungeon and not at the end, they only drop hundreds. So the ones that she killed before Goma can only drop hundreds, they can't actually drop 150s. But that's pretty much like the only exception, I think. This next level is actually one of the longest levels, well, casually, and it may even be longest in the TAS, I'm not sure. But yeah, just some more FMC shenanigans.
This looks very fancy, but it only skips like, or only saves like, what, 2 seconds or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget which. And also pulling levers, as you've seen before, usually makes her have to press pause because Dolphin doesn't really work with this game very well. So avoiding that is also nice. Here we're going to use a slingshot to do some more enemy clipping. Here she has to wait for the Gibdo to get in a certain spot, so not really in a rush too much. You normally have to make a big backtrack around this huge oval that is this level to get inside that little section, but you can use enemy clipping to get into that middle section, where there's also conveniently 1,000 rupees. And since there's also a boss in this game, the boss also drops a ton of, I say rupees, a ton of gems. And so you don't really have to collect any extra gems.
Here we see Flying Dinklage. It's not really used in this run a lot of the time. In RTA, it's used one more time in 6-1. But basically you just jump slash against Moldorm's head, and then we keep moving around. As long as the control stick doesn't go back into neutral position, you will kind of still be in the air a little bit. You cannot walk over gaps or anything like that, but you can walk over Moldorm's face and not get hit. It makes this fight a lot easier.
Again, this is a boss where they don't really have HP, it's just you have to hit them a certain amount of times. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's also another cutscene coming up in this next room that we'll skip using similar methods as before. You're making sure not to hit the trigger.
This is so weird. I don't understand how that works, to be honest.
As long as the main link you're not controlling hits the trigger, you'll never get into
I guess
the
it's just
cutscene.
like 1-3 technically.
Yeah.
Alright, makes sense.
There's also the longest cutscene. It's like a minute long, so if you have to get a drink or something, go ahead and do that.
Stay hydrated.
Alright, so World 7 is going to be full of ice levels. Ice is a little bit special because obviously you slide on ice, but you can do some fancy screen transitions if green is on ice or rolls on ice, for example, and then trigger a screen transition. For some reason, the links will carry some of the momentum you had beforehand onto the next screen, and you can clip into some walls with it, which we'll see in the next level here. Everything happens really fast, so... Oh yeah, first of all, she actually gets the boots here for a clip later on in this level. So green rolled on ice, and then she triggered the screen transition, which allowed her to go up onto this wall. Walking on these walls is a little bit strange. On the left screen there, triggering the screen transition to the right is a little bit complicated, but obviously with task tools it's a lot easier. She also gets the medallion here first, before actually switching back to purple and going up here. She also skips the power places because you can do an interesting clip with the Pegasus boots there. This is really complicated, and I'm actually really surprised it actually works, but it does, so nice. The reason why we carry the medallion still is for the upcoming jewel fight. As we explained earlier, the last jewel fight is actually going to be skippable. Now, usually during those jewel fights, here's just some more jump duping going on because we skipped basically the whole level. But during jewel fights, the screen is usually logged, and so you can't just exit the screen again. However, if you use a medallion, like this one, the Earth medallion, you unlock the screen again, and you can therefore escape and just skip the fight that way. So first of all, we use another ice screen transition to get up to this wall, then we drop the medallion, which unlocks the screen. So now technically we can go down again, but obviously we want to go up and just completely skip the fight and go to the end of the level. This is technically also possible in 4-1 because 4-1 also has a medallion right before the jewel fight, but 4-1 just has a few other complications that make it unfortunately impossible for now.
So there's a mechanic in 7.2 where the gimmick is that you basically have the level 2 fire rod, which allows you to spawn blocks and stuff. And so a lot of times there's 5 switches, and you only have 4 links, obviously. So press the 5th switch, you usually need something else, but because of the switch mechanics in this game, you can normally press 5 switches with 4 links, because this game is good. So yeah. Also on this next screen, you need to get rid of all these skulls in the ice, but you can just walk over them to get rid of them instead of throwing bombs like the game kind of wants you to. No, the jewel actually does go on your screen. If someone pressed pause right now, you would see the jewel there. Doesn't really matter if you do the cutscene or not.
I really like that room.
That room was sick.
Ridiculous.
More gap skips here. That's something you normally see a lot in RTA, but it's not used too commonly in the test just because FRC is so powerful.
This room definitely looks like 4 people were doing it.
Yeah. There's another example of hitting 2 switches with 1 link to hit 5 switches with the 4 links total, which is, like Z said, the basis of skipping Fire Rod level 2.
There's also a
And
small
one
little
last.
cutscene there, just like in the other levels that you just skipped, using various methods that we have. In RTA, you can actually just throw a link over to the loading zone and switch to them. And then there's the jewel we never got in the bottom right as well. The next level in this run is usually one of the levels that doesn't really have any glitches when you watch a run of it. But there are a few skips that you can take, and there's also some really cool rooms. I think when you don't have like FMC at in your toolbox for levels, it ups the creativity a lot, and you'll find some really cool strategies that are used in these rooms if you can even follow it in the first place. So normally you have to switch between the fire rod and the rock's feather throughout this whole level, but I believe she skips the first instance of getting the fire rod, which you'll see in the lower left corner there. Which you normally have to go over there to get the fire rod and melt some ice, but using FMCs we can skip that little section there and just skip right to the rock's feather. But that really doesn't skip too much. It's only like 10 or 15 seconds or something. But in the rooms after this, the strategies are really cool to do some of these rooms.
Yeah, I really like this room because there's some strategies with using the formation menu, not really to clip. Well, it is to clip, but it's to get basically like an early cycle on the thwomp. You'll see it coming here. Normally you'd have to wait for the thwomp to come back up, but you can skip that with the formation menu clipping. It's one of the more creative uses of it in the run. That right there.
Basically making a staircase with the thwomps there.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're supposed to melt this frog here, but rolling through it is faster, so just do that instead. So this next screen coming up is going to happen really fast, but the goal is to kill these 3 flying ice things, and yeah, it just looks really neat.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite rooms.
Some of the stuff you can do in this game is just ridiculous.
So the goal of this boss is to hit his, like, top, wherever this thing is, and then he'll fall down, and then you just have to hit him a few more times. And then do a down air to kill him.
No, in single player, every link has the same item. But if you play multiplayer, then each link can have their own item, depending on how many people you play with.
So coming up in the next level, 8-1, you're going to see a lot of formation hovers. For some reason, in World 8, it's really easy to do formation hovers. It works in other places too, but like everywhere in World 8, you can just hover by using the C stick. But in a TAS, you can do a lot of crazy things with screen transitions, which is also one of the reasons we're playing on the Japanese version. A lot of these unintended screen transitions won't work unless you're playing on the Japanese version. I know Innate one for sure, I'm not sure about the other one.
Yeah, so I think this might be the shortest level in the TAS, or at least it's pretty
is, yeah.
close.
So these formation hovers sometimes look a bit fancy. This right here is just holding C right on the C stick. It's not too complicated. The screen transition is a little bit different. After the screen transition, you usually cannot continue the hover that easily, but if you get a frame perfect jump slash, then you most of the time can continue the hover by still holding right on the C stick. It's not that simple, but most of the time that's all you have to do.
So this next level is like a 2D level mixed with a normal level, I guess, or a side-scrolling level, whatever you want to call it, vertical. And there are some very weird mechanics in this game with these clouds. So normally you have to stand on the clouds and it transitions, does this little cutscene. And if you do that, you can just FMC past the transition and just do a normal transition. It actually does break some of the game. You won't really see that too much, but it makes a skip later on more complicated. But Yadra did figure out how to do it, because we don't do this in RTA because it does break one of the things. It's also really hard to do. But this skip coming up is kind of, well, it's really complicated to the point that we don't really know what's going on. But doing those transitions does kind of break this skip in a way, but you can still make it work in a way with what she's doing. Yeah, so it basically puts Green Link like in the upper left corner or something. I don't really know, and
Yeah,
you
like
can do
way
some...
out of bounds.
Yeah, it's way out of
Somewhere.
bounds.
It's really weird because when you enter that screen, Green also walks into a GBA screen, but is still somehow not on the GBA screen. It really doesn't make sense.
So after this, we get to the normal level layout, and there's going to be these Widrows that she's going to kill. You can't kill them with the bow. She's going to kill one with the bow, but you can't kill them all with the bow because they won't drop gems otherwise. But she only needs to kill one just because we can manipulate gems later. There's also this skip coming up, which is Hammer Skip. Another formation hover that's really weird.
These formation hovers are also weird because usually you cannot just simply roll during a formation hover, but on very specific frames, and they're also not consistent frames, very inconsistently, you sometimes are able to roll upwards a little bit, and then that allows you there to screen transition upwards.
This is also a really long cutscene with fighting with Dart Link and getting some mirror or something, but you can just skip it pretty easily using all the tricks that are in this game.
The gems are for completing a level. You need 2,000 gems to destroy the barriers at the end of each level. Except for this level, the very last level in the game.
Yeah, so potentially this would be faster in co-op just because of its exclusive glitches, but as mentioned earlier, the compatibility with Dolphin isn't great, so not really possible. But it's not really that much slower, at least I would guess. And she's she's doing a glitch here called zombie storage, which is there's multiple ways to do it, but one way to do it is to die on a loading transition, kind of like stairs, which she did using the Wizard's Fire. And so the next time that she dies, you'll see something interesting happen. And so, so the next time you die, some of your links become essentially zombies, and they just don't get revived. And so this basically skips all of the Ganon's Tower. Normally these 4 corners are basically trials for each of the items that you see there. And we can just skip it doing this.
Oh, we can FMC too. That's sick. You do have to die again so that your zombie link becomes the normal link again.
She also needs the Pegasus Boots for this next room. You don't technically need it, but it's a lot faster to do it with the Pegasus Boots, because breaking these blocks of that Pegasus Boots requires some FMCs, getting that bomb, and doing it multiple times, and it's really dumb.
And the reason why we don't need the 2k gems here is because we usually can just always FMC through the barriers, but obviously most of the time that's not going to help because it's the end of the level, and we have to destroy them to trigger the end of the level. But this time there's another boss fight behind the barrier, so we can just simply FMC through them and go to the fight that way.
Using a different version of FMC there, you can actually get the bomb to a certain height that can hit Vadi, where normally you need the tornado to do that. And that was Vadi. You'll see some weird glitch, like visual glitch here, because Yadra's technically on like a different layer in the GBA screen, so it looks kind of weird. They kind of threw up their swords there, which is why I saw the little, I guess, spark when they swung their sword. Unfortunately, a lot of the collapse is waiting for Zelda, but I'm sure there'll be some fun shenanigans throughout. I don't think I've seen 8-3 yet. Did you guys watch it?
I
I
have
watched
not seen it, no.
Okay.
So yeah, most of it is just waiting for Zelda, so a lot of nonsense is possible since it doesn't waste time.
This part's really good. There's a bunch of enemies that spawn, but Yadra just kind of melts them.
Here you do have to trigger some switches to make ladders appear for Zelda to walk on. But that's mostly it, really, what you have to do. It took her about 3 years to do this task, to make this task. There were a few other levels tasked by her before this, but while she was tasking World 1 or World 2, I don't remember, she found another glitch that saved a lot of time in World 1 as well, and so she had to go back and task the first levels again. Yeah, World 8 was really fast.
I didn't know that putting your bow through that lamp made the arrow a fire arrow until I watched this, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing that they. But I guess it's the same like actor as the torch actors, so that's why it happens. But yeah.
She did take some breaks every now and then.
Oh yeah, you saw a little weird glitch there where if you put up the formation during that, you can extend the like fade out box or the fade out whatever, and it'll just go away and you can see you guys like in the bottom. There's also a couple different strategies for Ganon. So the first phase of Ganon is literally just hitting him as much as you can. And so there was one using the Rock's Feather versus spin attacks and stuff like that. The spin attacks came out to be a little faster, I think. There's a couple different phases of the first part of Ganon where he has this like electric attack and also this teleport attack. I'm not sure what you see exactly with that. I'm sure he's gonna die pretty fast.
If any of these lightning things hit you, you will be warped into another GBA screen, have to fight some monsters first.
You get sent to the Shadow Realm.
Shadow Realm, come on.
And now the second part of Ganon is just hitting his energy balls back at him. You just have to hit him 5 times. So it'll end after she shoots the light ball into him. There's weird mechanics with Ganon hopping in walls and stuff like that, so she's just manipulating them to do as fast as possible.
And that's
and
it.
that's it.
Yeah.
That was sick.
What ridiculous. Yeah. It's amazing. Can't even find the right words for this.
Yeah, that was
the amount of effort that she had to
great
put into
test.
this.
I'm not sure if Yadra is still having mic issues or something. I don't know if she can.
Let's find out. Hi, I'm
Oh,
here.
hi.
Linda.
Yeah, so that was a great test. I think everyone enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hope so. It was pretty fun to watch with everyone, and I'm sorry for my mic issues. But like my commentators were like perfect, so thank you for the backup. Really, I meant to talk a little bit more than that.
It's no problem. Thanks for making the task. It was great to watch.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, really, really great.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I've been waiting
And,
for this to be finished for so long, and to finally see the whole thing. It's really great.
And yeah, it's been almost 4 years. So, while we are thanking to people, once again, huge thank you to the Flawless crew and FSA and to CFG for streaming this.
Oh.
And especially, I want to say thank you to Dragonbane because he made the Zelda edition, which is like a special dolphin build, so you can actually TAS without desyncing every minute. And he also helped me with technical difficulties, so huge shoutouts to him. And to everybody who watched my streams and retweeted my TASes, and to CSR as well. So thank you a lot, because without all these people, I couldn't have finished the TAS.
Yeah, alright. So, do you guys want to stick around for the credits, or any more shoutouts you guys want to give out?
Shouts to all the other
Forget
FSA
them.
runners who couldn't be here, like Dan, Hope,
And Blue.
and Blue. I saw Trey in the
Wherever he
chat.
is.
Trey's really good.
Actually, how long are these credits anyway?
Like 5 minutes.
They're
Okay.
pretty long in this game.
Yeah, I just want to say how amazing how it's kind of come to this point, because I started running this game in 2013. I was basically one of the first people to even bother with this game. And then the following year, like January 2014, Yadra came in, and she was like basically the second like permanent member of FSA. And she took this game to like a level was unimaginable when I first started playing this. So it's just so amazing seeing it come to this point and kind of how far this game has gone. So it's just big shout outs to her for putting so much work into this game.
Definitely. Most of the major tricks for both RTA and TAS are from her. The speed game would definitely not be the same without her.
She broke this game to pieces.
Although I think Yadra said that she started getting interested in FSA because ZFG talked about it on his stream, like all the way back. So
I
I think
also
it's
got
pretty
it-
funny how
that's correct, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, ever since the first time I saw FSA, I think it was in like 2013 or early 2014 when Z-Master was running it, I was just like, man, this is such a cool game, and I wish more people would know about it. So I ended up talking about it a lot, and yeah, guess that got some people into it. Yeah, I basically made this test.
Smile.
Praise FSA. I can't talk. Praise CFG. I mean, it's technically true.
But yeah, I'm glad this game is starting to get more recognition. It really deserves it.
Well, the only thing we still need is a co-op TAS. Or rather, the TAS tools for it.
Glitchless TAS.
No. Someday.
I don't think we'll ever change the glitches rule set.
Yeah, it's too good.
What is there something interesting about the glitchless rule set?
Oh, playing on Japanese is a glitch.
Okay.
You're required to get level 2 bombs in one of the levels. Absolutely necessary. Glitches are a glitch, obviously. So that's it pretty much.
Okay, good rule
Don't you
set.
also have to follow the official guidebook or something?
Oh yeah, there's one gem that's not in the official guidebook, so that gem is banned in glitchless.
Something like that.
Yeah.
No, mics are muted. We are just enjoying the beautiful outro.
Yeah.
It's just
The
kind of
wonderful
insane
credits.
to actually see the task being finished, because she's been working on it for such a long time that a lot of the time we didn't really think that the task would ever be finished, because she kept finding new things that made things faster and she had to redo some stuff.
Yeah, the
It's
last
actually
month or
still the
so.
finished product.
Yeah, the last month or so, she basically sped run the last like two worlds and did them in like a month. Or normally that would be like 2 levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be some more Zelda game tasters. Zelda tasters are so great, and they don't seem to be as common these days. Would definitely love to see more. And that's the end.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching and for CFG for hosting this.